I'm getting ready to purchase my first small multifamily property. This has been literally years in the making, saving every dollar I can and learning everything I can about this topic to get ready for this point. And in this video, I'm gonna share everything I know about small multifamily with you with the goal of saving you time and effort. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Buying just one small multifamily property can change your net worth overnight, whether that's a duplex, triplex, or fourplex. Anything under 5 units and not a single family house is classified as a small multifamily property. And guys, I'm telling you, this is one of the best financial investments that you can make. And it's no secret that one of the best benefits of buying a small multifamily property is house hacking. And if you're not familiar, house hacking works like this. You buy a duplex, triplex, or quadplex, and you live in one of the units and rent out all the others, guys. And I'm telling you, that's so powerful because you can reduce your monthly mortgage payment pretty significantly, or you can literally have the whole thing paid for. Let's say you're in a triplex or a quadplex and live in one of the units, your entire mortgage payment could be covered. And that is a realistic goal for a lot of investors. So what are the benefits of owning and buying a small multifamily property? Why would someone go out and buy a duplex or a triplex as opposed to a single family house? Well, there's a few benefits that come to mind, but the number one benefit of owning one of these is the cash flow. These things are built for cash flow. If you buy a triplex or a quadplex, that is going to likely generate way more cash flow in that market than a single family property. There's no doubt about it. The second major advantage of owning a small multifamily property is that according to the bank, they see a single family and a small multifamily loan as the absolute same. So if you buy a single family house versus a triplex, the financing is the exact same. Now, if you go over 5 units, the financing aspect gets a little different, but anything 4 and under, you're good. And this is something that I'm really excited about as a guy in my 20s who's really fired up about wealth building. I am absolutely going to take advantage and buy as many units in the small multifamily space as I possibly can. But as I mentioned, I'm aiming to buy a duplex here shortly because the market that I'm looking at is New York, specifically the Westchester market. And man, oh man, these listings are expensive. We're talking anywhere from about $650,000 to over $1 million. But my goal is to buy this duplex and house hack. Let's get into the third advantage. And the third major advantage is that you have a diversified income stream when you own one of these properties. What does that mean? Instead of owning a single family where you have one rent check coming in per month, and if something happens, like it's vacant for a few months, you have $0 coming in. Let's say you own a duplex or a triplex and one of the units is vacant. Well, you're still collecting rent from those other units, and the likelihood that you'll have $0 coming in from that property is pretty low, especially if you have the right systems. But that was the third major advantage. There's plenty of others, but I wanted to highlight those three. Let's get into some of the downsides of owning a multifamily versus a single family property. The biggest downside to owning one of these small multifamilies, and it's no secret, it is more hands-on owning one of these versus a single family home. I own a single family home. I have a property manager. He takes care of everything, but I plan on managing this duplex myself, and I fully expect more of my time and more of my effort to be dedicated to this property just because you have to fill vacancies, there's more maintenance requests associated with more units, and it's something that I fully expect. I'm not afraid of, I'm prepared for it, I'm gonna have the right systems in place, but it's something I want to make you guys aware of when you start house hacking and when you start purchasing these small multifamilies. There's no doubt, even with a property manager, that it's going to require more of your time and more of your effort. And the second biggest downside that I see in this space is that if you take a single family home and a small multi in the same area, the single family home will typically appreciate at a higher rate than the small multifamily. And there's a ton of reasons for this, but I think the biggest is that there's less demand for these small multifamilies compared with single family homes. It's pretty simple, but that can actually be used to your advantage when you're going out and buying these. There's not a whole lot of competition, especially right now when prices are super high and rates are still being stubborn at over 6% for a 30-year fixed. So yes, it won't appreciate as much, but there's less competition when you go out to buy these things, so you're more likely to get a deal. So you've heard the pros and cons, and now you're sold. You want to purchase, your first small multifamily property. And that's great, that's exciting. I'm very excited to buy my first. I'm also a little bit nervous, but that's besides the point. What's step number one? What's the first thing that you have to do to buy this small multifamily property? And I will tell you guys, you have to be extremely clear about what's called your buy box. Let me explain. I would argue that having a crystal clear buy box is the most important thing when it comes to small multifamily investing, because it literally sets the stage for everything else. And you're gonna hand this buy box, condition, property type, location, school district, whatever. You're gonna hand this to your real estate agent and say, here you go. Now help me find properties that meet these specific criteria. Let me tell you what my buy box looks like for my property in New York. I'm looking for a side-by-side duplex, at least 4 bedrooms, at least 2 bathrooms in an A or B class neighborhood. And the price that I'm willing to pay is $650,000 to $950,000. That is my exact buy box. And when I say side-by-side duplex, that's just the type of multifamily, because these small multifamily properties come in all sorts of different types. And what I'm looking for is a side-by-side duplex where one tenant lives next to the other, and usually a wall is separating them. But there's also an up-down multifamily where one tenant will live on the top floor, one tenant will live on the ground floor. You have big, ugly monster houses where the whole thing's kind of combined. You have cottages or ADUs. You guys get the point. There's plenty of properties out there to look for. But like I said, side by side is the most popular and can be the most advantageous. But where do you guys go from here? So you have your crystal clear criteria, you have your buy box. Where do you go from here? Now it's time to start analyzing deals. And this is the part where a lot of people get hung up on. Do you look for cash on cash return? Do you look for the 1% rule? If you guys don't know what that means, you can go look it up. I won't dive into those. But what makes sense when you analyze a deal? And I will tell you this, it is so complicated from so many of these experts out there. What I'm looking for right now with these super high interest rates, with these super high housing prices, especially in New York, my goal is to have positive cash flow from day one, period. I'm gonna be living in there for a year and then I'm gonna move out. But when I move out on year one, I want cash flow positive. So what does cash flow positive mean? It means that the rent that you're bringing in minus all of your expenses is a positive number. It's not a negative number. So if you're bringing in for rent $5,000 from your duplex, which is awesome by the way, and your expenses, including vacancy, repairs, you're putting all this money aside, is $4,000 in expenses, well, congrats, you have $1,000 per month in positive cash flow. So my goal from day one with these high rates, with these high prices, is to be cash flow positive. And that metric is definitely a controversial take depending on who you ask, but I'm telling you guys, I plan on holding this property for the next 20, 30 years, and rents are only going to increase. So I believe that the biggest step is just getting your foot in the door. I'm starting off by house hacking, and then over time, those rents will increase and the investment will look better. I don't care about earning thousands of dollars in cash flow from day one. This is about owning an asset that's going to appreciate, that the rents are going to go up over time, and that's something that I'm really excited about. And once the math makes sense and you've now analyzed your small multifamily deal, congrats. It is now time to buy, but before you do, here's a few bonus tips, stuff that I've learned, picked up along the way, and I've heard this from other investors, but it's not mainstream. The first one is walk the area at night. You guys would be surprised at some of the stuff that you hear or see at night. You wanna know that it's a safe area that's going to attract the best tenants. And if you see crime, if you see crazy things happening at night, that's probably a sign that you want to avoid that property. Another bonus tip, and something that's often overlooked, is that before you buy this multifamily property, you want to make sure that the water meters are separated. And for a lot of older homes, you'll see that they'll only have one, and that often will now fall either on the landlord or it's confusing on how it's split. Make sure that the water meters are separated and have the tenants pay for their own water and their individual usage. The third bonus tip is make sure there's ample parking, and make sure that the tenants who are living in your multifamily property feel comfortable with their parking space. They can have people over whenever they want because there's ample parking there. But guys, ultimately what it comes down to when you buy a multifamily property, you want to attract the best quality tenant that's gonna pay you on time, who's gonna take care of your property. You don't want to attract someone who's not. So do everything in your power to make sure that this is possible and you attract the best tenants. So I laid it all out there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of this, and I hope it's gonna save you time. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more. We love talking about real estate investing. We also talk about stock investing. The goal is financial freedom. I really hope you'll join me along this journey. Thank you guys so much. Go out there and get your first small multi. I appreciate all of you. I'm out.